Thank you, Dalia. Thank you, Laura, for creating this space for us to share experiences, also to continue to identify, because it is a whole continuation. This conversation of ours today has been going on for decades now. In my lifetime alone, I remember like 4 at least very important moments globally, taking, for example, the Decade for Women, UN Decade for Women, Beijing Platform for Action, Millennium Development Goals, and now our Agenda 2030 with its 17 Sustainable Development Goals, SDG 5 in particular, targets equality. And unfortunately, we continue to speak in this way. And my first concern is the issue that my colleague Kirsty has been mentioning, the issue of mentality, the issue of culture. And yes, I think we need to be vociferous and stand up against this patriarchy that still dominates, unfortunately, our societies. Kirsty has mentioned quite a number of examples. We smile at them, but such examples hurt us, and hurt us really deep. If Colinda, my colleague, has mentioned the way we are portrayed in the media, and these hurt us. And many a time they hurt us on our own, but this is pain that we carry all the time. So we need to be there for each other, we need to be courageous, and we need to start being vociferous, because this is not the way. After all, equality is a human rights issue. It is not a question of a privilege. This is a human rights issue. We are in 2018. This year, on the 10th of December, we will be marking the 70th anniversary of the Declaration of Human Rights, and we still are fighting for one of our basic human rights. The very first human right that there is we are all born free and equal, but we are not equal. And we have then to do something, because we've been speaking in the same manner for many decades now. The issue of patriarchy, I can mention, for example, this is something which I personally have been quite criticized for, or rather portrayed as being aggressive, because I'm assertive. Because if I believe in something, I'm foursquare on my beliefs. But if a man is assertive, he's capable, he's a leader, he really can carry responsibility, he can face anything. So this is another example of what we've been hearing in the way that we are portrayed. Equality is not a matter of obscuring the differences between genders. It's only a matter of getting the respectful space that we all deserve, women and men. So the issue of equality, the issue of parity, the issue of growth through women empowerment is a real issue, an issue which is not just a women's issue, it is a human rights issue, but it is also obviously that it is hampering all of our societies. I have some more examples of to continue to put more in context, and the context that how much the inequality is hampering even our growth. World Bank has mentioned that if women had to participate in the economy, we would increase our growth globally by 160 trillion. And that is something. And I really can't understand how this cannot seep through even men in our societies, because this is a huge issue. Yesterday I had this opportunity to be at the event organized by UNIDO about the third industrial development decade for Africa, and there were some very worrying regional issues. And I think we need also, when we speak of equality, we cannot just speak, we need to speak even regionally on certain aspects. African women are the most women that are in agriculture and entrepreneurship, all in any region, in any region of the world. African women in agriculture, they work longer hours than men. However, they produce less because they have lack of access to, for example, seeds and fertilizers. And if they had equity an equal access to such resources, with their work, with their productivity, they can address about 100 to 150 million people at risk of starvation. And this is African Development Bank who is saying this. So this is truly worrying. We cannot continue speaking, but we need to stand together and take action together and be more vociferous, even on a global stage. I think we need also to network better, even between our organizations. I would have loved to see, I don't know if UN Women are here, but I would have loved to see them with us today, because I think we have to reach out and stand by each other to do things more effectively. Definitely, the issue of, for example, within the European Union, another example from a region, 25% of women, and this is World Economic Forum, 25% of women in the European Union report care and family responsibilities as the reason for not being in the labor force, as opposed to 3% of men. So there again, we need not just to have this global approach to issues of culture, mentality, patriarchy, but and also to certain harmonized initiatives, measures that we need to take to achieve equality, but we also need to focus and put under the radar these specifics, region-specific contexts. I would like also to take some examples. Our colleague from the World Bank had mentioned the issue of having legislation in place. That is undoubtedly very important. However, that alone will not get us to reach the objective of equality. We need also with that the proper, I would say, infrastructure, the necessary and appropriate measures to sustain that legislation to be implemented effectively. And I will take some examples from my own country. Malta was at the lowest rung of the ladder with regards to female participation in the economy till a few years ago. However, my government has introduced what we call the breakfast clubs. We have introduced also free access to childcare, universal free access to childcare. We have also introduced after-school clubs and quite a number of family-friendly measures, a huge diverse of family-friendly measures. In a few years, in very few years, we have managed to increase significantly, impressively, the women's participation in the economy. So with the legislation that has been there for a very long time, nothing really happened, or it was happening very slowly. However, when the proper measures were put in place, then we have seen an increase, a tangible, significant, amazing, impressive increase. So legislation on its own, it is very important, but on its own will not get us too far. So we need, I think, to also share these experiences, or rather these positive outcomes of our countries, so that also we can, from our experiences, we can also take, well, we don't need to really go to rocket science. If we know that something is tried and tested, we can always share that together. So that is also the reason that is very important, to come together as much as possible, to network, to share, and to engage. I would like to also give another example from my country. Till a couple of years ago, our judiciary was completely imbalanced in favor of men, and now, because there was the political will, we have total parity with regards to the judiciary. So again, legislation is there for equality, but you need the political will, the right political will, and measures in place to strike that. With regards to quotas, and I was pleased that the Secretary General mentioned quotas. I come from a background of about 45 years, 40 years in politics and nearly 5 years being president. and I did not need quotas. But I can vouch that quotas work, and we need to push for that as a temporary measure until we get that parity. I remember when I was in charge of the women's section in the party I worked in, we asked for quotas, we worked for quotas, we fought for quotas. It wasn't easy to persuade that quotas are very important, so as to ensure that we will have parity, equality on the policy-making body. And within 2 years, we used them only for 2 years. Within 2 years, everything was had come to normal, where women were, it was second to nature to elect women to be part of the policy making body. So I think even that, we need to have tangible measures put in place, tangible actions, and we need to be very much together so that we can thrive on our strengths, on all of our strengths, and also to make the proper statements, the strongest of statements, that we need to do something now. We cannot wait anymore. The course of decades have passed, speaking in the same way. At times we speak ad nausea because we have spoken so much. We need action to ensure that we really can achieve what is, after all, a human right. We need to achieve what is, after all, a human right. Equality for women is a human right. This year, it's 70 years of that declaration, where all our countries have agreed to. And I think we should do something that should show that we are commemorating the 70 years with something tangible, even more stronger than maybe what we have committed to before. Thank you.